The Paleozoic era began following the breakup of the supercontinent Rodinia. This tectonic movement occurred during the warmth of the Cambrian, but was quickly followed by an ice age during the Ordovician, which caused glaciation and lowered the sea level. The Devonian period saw the creation of the supercontinent Euramerica, which finally joined with Gondwana during the Permian to form Pangaea. The story of life within the Paleozoic began with the Cambrian explosion, which included the evolution of arthropods and chordates. Shallow seas soon became home to an abundance of life, including coral reefs, mollusks, and fish. As time progressed through the Ordovician and Silurian, unfortunately, much of this life was put to an end during the Permian extinction. Pennsylvania, in particular, during the Paleozoic, is a great region to examine with regards to life and the changes it experienced. During the Cambrian explosion, Pennsylvania was located on the edge of the Laurentia Plate within a shallow marine environment. This region saw the great explosion of brachiopods and trilobites. Following the Cambrian explosion, the Ordovician brought the tectonic orogeny to Pennsylvania, and with it spurred the creation of the Appalachian Mountains and the respective basin that was home to the mollusks and bracteoles that dominated the shallow sea. As sea level rose slightly during the Devonian worldwide, the Acadian orogeny formed the Catskill Delta in Pennsylvania around 400 million years ago. This delta allowed for the rise of land plants in the region, which was located on the coast. It was also home to fish, insects, and land plants. During the Carboniferous, the land in Pennsylvania became increasingly terrestrial as the coastline moved eastward. This change led to a shift from aquatic to terrestrial life dominating the region. The Permian brought a great change in Pennsylvania with the Alleghanian orogeny. This was a time of great erosion in the region, and now terrestrial life such as amphibians, insects, and reptiles dominated the area. Finally, we see the Paleozoic life come to a bottleneck within Pennsylvania, along with the rest of the globe during the Permian extinction.
The Paleozoic era consisted of 6 primary periods. The Cambrian period was the first, which followed the Precambrian mass extinction. This period is known for the Cambrian explosion, as biologists have seen new organisms in the fossil record. The critical organisms of this period were small ocean invertebrates or earth arthropods called trilobites. Regarding the geologic history, water transgressed across North America with varying levels of depth. Specifically, since Pennsylvania wasn't under deep or shallow waters, there was a large array of organisms residing there, which explains all the variation of fossils we see in central Pennsylvania today. During the Ordovician period, the first fish began to evolve and plants colonized the land. East of modern America, a volcanic arc was formed, and due to this, ash is found in the carbonates of central Pennsylvania. As this arc moved towards America, the wave caused the plate to sink. This created the Appalachian Basin, which soon filled with water, creating this environment. The next period was the Silurian period, in which corals appeared in the oceans and vascular plants moved onto land. Due to the lack of circulation with the ocean and its proximity to the equator, this resulted in high levels of evaporation, and the basin became increasingly shallow. In the following period, the Devonian period, it was critical to see because the lungs of fish evolved. In terms of central Pennsylvania, this area was above sea level and had seasonally dry climate, indicated by the iron oxides and the fossil found in the central Pennsylvania rock of this period. During the Carnivorous period, amphibians evolved and began to colonize land, although they're still required water to reproduce. Reptiles were the first fauna to reproduce on land. Due to the tropical climate, as Pennsylvania was slightly south of the equator, there was an abundance of tropical vegetation resulting in an abundant wood-heavy swampland which developed into peat. The final period is the Permian period in which Pangaea formed. The collision of North America and Africa allowed for the immense heat and pressure which created the Pennsylvanian coal we have today. This period ended the mass extinction where the majority of species went extinct. However, this new explosion of life during the Mesozoic era, which is how dinosaurs evolved.
For the first 3.5 billion years that life existed on Earth, things were simple. As a result of the Cambrian explosion and a plethora of environmental changes, simple life forms were able to evolve and turn into the types of complex plants and animals we are surrounded by today. Before the Acadian orogeny, Pennsylvania was completely submerged in water, so the animals that dominated the first half of the Paleozoic were strictly aquatic. The Cambrian period brought along the first complex life forms that the Earth had ever seen. Trilobites and brachiopods dominated the seas, and although trilobites are now extinct and brachiopods are much less common than they were 500 million years ago, their fossilized remains can still be found in the geologic backbone of central PA. Pennsylvania even named the fossil of the Phacops rana, a species of trilobite from the Middle Devonian, as their official state fossil. In the Ordovician period, as a burst of geologic activity caused the continents to shift and form new habitats, animals such as mollusks, bryozoa, and graptolates became dominant in the Pennsylvania seas. The Devonian-Silurian extinction event then wiped out a large percentage of aquatic life, and fish began their takeover of the seas. As fish and coral reefs dominated the central PA waters in the Silurian, plants began to spread over the land in other places. It wasn't until the Devonian period that the Acadian orogeny finally exposed central PA to land, and PA saw its first terrestrial ecosystems. Tetrapods made their first appearance in central PA during this time. Amphibians, insects, and land plants such as the Archaeopteris dominated the area until the Carboniferous period began and the shoreline retreated eastward, exposing even more of PA. The gradual exposure of PA land led to a period of great evolution where trees, forests, and ferns took over. This resulted in a big rise in oxygen levels, making it easier for more species of plants and animals to make crucial adaptations to life on land and inhabit central PA. These environmental changes paved the way for the world's first reptiles that dominated Pennsylvania for the remainder of the Paleozoic.
In conclusion, life during the Paleozoic involved a lot of different changes. It started with supercontinent break and the formation of another. The Paleozoic era witnessed the first vertebrate animals to colonize land and involved the spread of plants. The beginning of that era involved the Cambrian explosion, which caused the diversification of marine animals, involving more complex interactions. The end period of that era was the Permian, which had the largest mass extinction. It resulted in terrestrial life fading away and temperatures dropping. Overall, marine life involved symbiotic and colonial organisms where large marine predators emerged. The change involved species adaptation to marginal habitats, preparing for land conditions. There was an ecospace expansion in both land and ocean, and there was an increase in weathering rates.